Hey guys, this is Jonathan Sateva, Marcelo Garcia black belt and 2019 ADCC competitor. Just shot an entire instructional on my X-Guard Nogi game. We covered everything from entries, sweeps, retentions, and transitions, including all forms of X-Guard, like the full X-Guard, switch X, cross-side X, and single leg X-Guard. I think all skill levels can learn something from this DVD from beginner to advanced. So if you want to master the X-Guard, be sure to pick it up. Thank you guys. All right, guys, so the first entry that we're going to work is my favorite entry for when the opponent's standing. It's going to be the shin-on-shin entry. So it depends on how my opponent's position, what I'm going to need to look to engage with first. Sometimes he's going to have his hands out in the front. I'm going to need to engage with my hands first. Other times he's going to be a little bit more upright, and I might not need to deal with his hands. But the idea is I'm going to look to reach with my shin, my hook, right in front of his lead leg, and kind of scoop myself forward and get to this leg hug position. And the engagement's always going to be different. Sometimes, he might step forward on me and I can get the entry. Other times he's playing a little bit more back. Maybe I can block his head so he can't see, and then I can get the entry. So the first position though is going to be that shin on shin. So come a little closer. So with this shin on shin, I want to make sure of a couple things so I don't get countered here. I don't want to hug shallow like this in this position. My partner's going to get the underhook on me over here, and that's going to create problems. I always want to hug elbow deep, okay? And with this shin on shin position, that's going to give me the chance to start to lift my opponent's leg so I can get underneath this leg, all right? My other hand can do a couple different things, okay, depending on how he's positioned. If he's a little bit more like with his knee kind of like pinched in, it can be rotating his knee out, so I have more space to get underneath. If maybe I'm worried about like my head getting guillotined or something like that, I can kind of frame his neck or frame his chest. This way I can avoid him to start to set up attacks on me. But either way, I'm going to look to lift and get underneath. So my goal is going to be to lift with the shin on shin and get weight out of this leg. So as I do that, I'm going to act like I'm doing a butterfly sweep. I'm going to kind of pull him a little bit on top and then change at the last second and go to my shoulder. You guys can see I'm kind of stretching him out. My other leg is a hook in case he tries to move out, and I'm going to kick and almost make him do a split. So that gives a lot of room to get underneath the position. Once I get underneath the position, we have the one leg X guard. Okay, so what I need to do to keep the one leg X guard is my one foot's going to go right on his hip. I keep my knee tight to my heel on the other side. My toes can point out for now. And this hand that's controlling the leg on the one leg X guard can either hug my thigh, but if I do, I close my elbow so his ankle doesn't come out, or I can hug like an ankle lock grip. My preference is usually to hug my own thigh though. Also, one important detail is I need to keep my hip elevated. If my hip is just resting on the ground, you guys can see all that space. That's not a good thing for me. So my hip is elevated. Lastly is this hook. Okay, this hook is going to be connected right to the back of the other leg, so I have some control on the other leg. So now with this position, I can start to have a lot of control of my partner's balance. I'm very far underneath him. Okay, and we can start to work to either sweep from the one leg X guard or transition to the X guard. All right, so let's look again. So Kevin's going to be in a stance, and depending on what entry you use depends on his stance. So he's going to have one leg in the front, so he's in like a split squat stance almost. So when I'm here, I'm going to look to hands fight or block his vision, and I get to that shin on shin position with a tight hug in the arm. Now, two options depending on what I need. Either I can start to rotate his knee out to make more space for me to go underneath, or I can start to frame against him over here. Either way, I'm going to treat the position like a butterfly sweep. I'm going to fall towards my back and then go to my shoulder and kick. As I kick, you guys can see my other foot's working to help make him do a split. I stretch my arm, I stretch his leg, and we end in the one leg X guard position. Once we get here, my toes are flush, okay, so he has trouble peeling my foot off. My knee is also going to touch my heel. I keep my hip up, okay, I close my elbow, and my other foot, just rotate a little bit, please. I like to hook the far leg over here. And so from this one leg X guard position, we can start to sweep or set up the next position, okay? So let's do the other side once. Come over here, please. So I'll just do once. Let's do the right leg in front. I'll just do once, no explanation. One more time, the other side. So again on this angle, like right here. Yeah, same leg in front. And we have our first entry. Okay guys, so the next entry we're gonna look at is when my partner engages me. So he has a similar stance, the one leg in the front, but it's not always gonna be on my pace to fight. Sometimes the person's gonna wanna try to come and pass my guard. And a common way that a passer is gonna look to engage you is by stepping in the center over here and getting his foot on the inside. So now this prevents my initial shin on shin. And whenever this happens, it's generally my preference to stay seated, okay? The reason why I feel like when I stay seated, I have more momentum to lift him to the positions that I'm looking for. If I go on my back, I'm gonna have to change options, which we can look at later. But for now, I prefer to stay seated, okay? And so when he steps in, can you go again, please? So when he steps in, I immediately wanna do that same hug. So what's important? I'm hugging very deep. The reason why I need to hug extra deep or very deep is so I control this knee. If I just hug shallow, even if my underhook's blocked, he can still start to slice his knee across. When I hug deep, almost getting my wrist against the side of his knee over here, his knee is fixed on my chest, okay? And that's what I'm looking for. And now on the other side, I have to see what's coming next. Sometimes it's gonna be this hand and I can control this hand. Sometimes it's gonna be back to that same leg position. Other times it's gonna be towards his head to keep him out of balance. And once we get there, we have two options, okay? If I was able to insist on staying seated over here, I can put my hand on the ground, release the hug for a second, and swing my shin back inside and go back to the entry that we're used to. But what's common is he's gonna put my back on the ground. So he's gonna put pressure on top of me and drop his knee on my chest. Exactly. And Kevin's doing a good job by keeping his hook there as he does that. So when this happens over here, you guys see how tight my hand is against his knee? That's why it was important for that hug. If I left my hand like this, can you just cross your knee, please? Yeah, even with no underhook. Maybe my head, yeah. It's gonna be able to get out to the side of my hip and he's gonna work the knee slide. So can you come back? So when I'm here, let's sit back up, please. Can you drive me back down? So when I'm here, you see how I already gained that hug. Now, my other leg is working initially as like a hook, and I'm kind of blocking him here. I don't want to give up his knee crossing either side, and I don't want him to gain any clinch control, upper body control on me. So what I'm going to do is as he goes to engage with me, my hand goes in his armpit. So can you rotate, please? So as he goes to engage his chest or his head control, see how I make a post in his armpit. So this way, I'm constantly keeping his weight away from me and towards his leg. And now what I'm gonna look to do is I'm gonna look to switch my hook that was on this side over here to this side. So it was on the back leg, it's gonna go to the front leg. And a common thing people do is they kind of put the hook in the guy's butt and they kick. The only problem is sometimes when I do this, his hook stays connected very tight, okay? So that creates a problem because now I can't get his leg over towards the side of my hip. So when I'm here, okay, what I need to do is I need to put my hook more behind his knee. So instead of being in the center of him, I bring my hook more behind his knee. Now when I lift his leg straight up and I pop it over. I pop it over and I almost like drag that leg hug position. And then from here, one more time, we have the same one leg X-guard position. Toes tight, knee connected to heel, hip up, tight elbow control on the leg, and my hook against the far leg on the back side. Okay. So let's do this angle, please. So this time he's going to engage with me. Immediately, I'm still going to hug and try to stay seated. And I'm always engaging either with his ribs or his hand. Usually those two are preferable in this situation so he doesn't set up an attack on me. I don't just leave this hand dead. Now, if he goes to drive me back, no problem. I'm going to look to start to set up my hook underneath, not in the center. Okay, this is not going to extend his leg the way I need it. I bring it underneath. My other hand is kind of pushing his ribs or pushing his leg when the timing's right to get the weight out of this leg. I need this leg light so I can go underneath it. So I'm gonna lift and then pull with my leg hug. I can even kind of kick my free leg over here. And I slide myself into the one leg X guard, elbow down, feet tight, knee to heel, and also my foot behind the far leg with my hip up, right? So just do a couple angles quick. You're gonna step it in, block the position, you drive me down. Even if I go with the momentum, even better. And I can arrive right there in the position. Again, just do like this angle. Here, as the momentum comes, even better if I can go with his momentum as opposed to just like suffering there on the bottom. Of course, we can do that if we have to, but even better with the momentum. And we end right in the position. All right, so now we're gonna look at the situation where my partner's in a more defensive stance. So he doesn't have one leg in the front. He's kind of standing a little bit more like square. And in that time, I don't have to really lift to get underneath him. The reason why I generally have to lift when my partner is in that staggered stance, can you go back to that staggered stance, please? So this leg in the front, that other leg back, yes, is because there's a knee blocking my entry underneath my partner's base. But when my partner is square like this, there's no knee that gets in my way, generally speaking. So I can still have the same idea to stay seated and engage myself in the hands fight over here. And my goal in this situation is instead to do all that work to lift, I'm gonna look to slide, okay? And one way that I can start to do that is I can still get my shin against his shin, but now instead to go to one leg hugging, you have two options. I can either hug both his legs and just scoop myself underneath to the position, or one that I really like to try is once I engage with the shin on shin here, is I can go with my cross arm. So my cross arm and my other arm go to one leg, and I can scoop myself underneath and go to the sliding entry. So when you do that, the idea is you want to pull yourself to the leg and also pull the leg to you. So do both. Don't just like try to just slide under, and don't just try to muscle the leg into position. You want to have two directions working in your favor. And then also you want to scoop your hip, like throw your back on the ground as quick as you can. This way you don't miss the timing, okay? So when I'm here, I'm kind of engaging him in the hands fight over here. I see the opportunity. I can go straight to his leg and go to the one leg extra position. Let's do the other angle. The other option over here, I see the opportunity to go towards both legs, and I can go right to the position. When you guys grab, I think the best way we can grab is almost like a double leg. Like you reach both legs at the same time. And if you guys want to imagine like right behind the knees, and if you guys want to imagine the one on the one leg, think about like an arm drag. When you do an arm drag, right, you grab behind the elbow. So like think about this almost like a knee drag. So you grab right behind the knee. All right, so last one. From here, looking to engage him in this situation, see the opportunities. Got that squared stance, and we can go to the one leg X guard. Okay, so obviously there's also going to be situations, where I get behind, my partner puts my back on the ground, and I'm not able to get that leg hug position that I initially wanted. So definitely I have to set up some sort of control, and the most obvious control that we have is usually going to be some sort of a De La Riva or reverse De La Riva, but we're going to look at the De La Riva right now. So imagine my partner surprises me. He steps in, right? I wasn't ready to like reset or anything like that. He surprises me, steps in, puts me completely flat on the ground, and immediately I go flat on the ground, taking some control. Can you rotate a little bit? So the control that I'm going to take is I can maintain the hook on the De La Riva, and on the other side, I like to post right on my partner's like thigh over here. Okay, and now from the situation, I need to start to work to see if I can get my feet on the inside position. Because right now my feet are more or less on the outside position. And in order to get to one leg X guard or X guard, we have to go to the inside. So when I'm here, a lot of times I'm going to be looking to fight this hand. The reason why is this hand is going to be the hand that blocks my entry. Okay, if I try to pummel my feet on the inside right now, he's just going to avoid that, right? So a lot of times I fight this hand. Sometimes he'll take this away, like break the grip, pull back. Yeah, and that'll give me a chance to change. Other times I keep the control, and this is going to give me a chance to bring my foot right to his hip and my other foot as a hook behind. So almost like a basic tripod sweep. And now from the situation, I'm going to look to push the foot on the hip and kick his weight towards this leg. So towards the leg that's on the back, just like we've been working the whole time. So I'm going to push and kick the weight so his other leg comes out of the mat. Once the other leg comes out of the mat, I'm going to get rid of this hand for a second so you guys can see. My knee position is going to pummel inside. Once my knee pummels inside, I can bring the leg straight to my shoulder, and we can go to the X guard position, or can we come back, please? From this setup, I can also just go straight to the one leg X guard position. So either way, we're going to start to get underneath our opponent over there, right? So we can even start from the De La Riva, please. So I have the position set up. I'm looking to kind of fight this hand over here. When I see the opportunity to get my foot to his hip, then I'm going to look to also change the hook at the same time. So right here, boom. I start to attack the sweep, getting all his weight towards that leg. I almost tilt onto my other hip. Okay, now my knee is going to come underneath as a shelf, and there's my hook. If I have the opportunity to control his knee and go underneath, I can go to the full X guard. If I didn't see the opportunity to control his knee, I'm not going to go to the full X guard because during this time, he's going to kind of backstep and kick his leg out, and I'm going to lose everything. So if I'm able to control the knee line, and we'll talk more about this later when we actually get to going over the fundamentals of the X guard, I have a free chance to pummel so he can't backstep out and arrive in the full X guard. Or if I wasn't able to get like a good control of his knee line over here, at least I'm just going to like control his ankle and now just pull him to the one leg X guard position, arriving over there. One thing I want to talk about real quick while we're here is the control on this side of the De La Riva. You can grab the Achilles just like the traditional style, or you can control more like deep or underneath. Doesn't matter the positioning of the De La Riva. What matters most is that you get the weight into this leg over here. Okay, so even if, I'll just do one example, even if I was on the underhook over here, I can start to stretch him towards this way. Especially if my partner's not letting me get the foot on the hip, I can stretch him with both my hooks towards this way, and you see how I get the same result. Once I get the same result, I'm going to bring my foot on the hip, and the underhook one is going to land me straight into the full X guard. Okay, so either option, depending on how you like to play the position, is going to work fine. So just do one more each time. So if he goes to put my back from the ground, okay, at least I set up a good De La Riva hook and start to set up my guard. Reach his Achilles, block the leg on the other side so he can't step it over, and I'm going to start to engage this hand. If he gives me the control of this hand and I can bring my foot on the hip, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, and I'm going to go to the tripod sweep position. I'm going to stretch him all towards this way, changing the side of my hip that I'm on. So I went from my left hip to my right hip in this case. Knee comes underneath. Control the back of his leg so he doesn't do the back step out. Now I can pummel. And we're going to arrive right in the X guard position, okay? Remember, if I wasn't able to, for some reason, to get to the perfect X guard because I couldn't get his knee line, keep control of this leg as best you can, and then go to the one leg X guard. Okay, one more time. As he goes to push me back, I put the De La Riva. Maybe now I'm not seeing this hip exposed. Okay, I'm going to change to the underhook side. And now I'm going to look to put both hooks in and stretch him towards this way. Once I stretch him towards this way, in the same direction, I change my hip, right? All the weight's on that leg. This leg's light. I can pummel. And we can go straight to that X guard position, okay? Let's give that a shot. Okay, so like we were discussing before, my partner's a lot of times going to put my back on the ground, and sometimes I'm not going to have the leg hook position. So when that happens, depending on which way he angles his knee or depending on which leg of mine is more ready to react first, is going to determine whether I get the De La Riva or the reverse De La Riva. We saw the De La Riva. Now let's go to the reverse De La Riva. So a lot of times my partner is going to put my back on the ground, stepping in the center, and I'm going to feel that the angle is more open to get the reverse De La Riva. Whenever I do this over here, I still want to keep like some sort of framework, right? So control his leg, the hook's right behind the knee, and my hand is always looking to kind of almost like push and bother his chest. Can we rotate just to show that angle, please? So my hand's always looking to kind of push and bother so he doesn't get any like control of me over here, okay? And my knee is kind of also up over here. I don't want to leave this leg open for some space for him. And now, once I get this position, I'm going to look to spin under and go to the cross-side X. So how that's going to look, it's going to look like this. My one hand that was grabbing the Achilles is going to pummel inside, okay? So I like to just bring like the palm, the backside of my hand rather, inside, okay? And now from this position, I'm going to start to spin under. I can reach his ribs or I can reach his thigh on the other side, whichever one's easier. And I'm going to start to spin and invert to the Granby roll and arrive with my hooks like so on the cross-side X. So you can see the hooks are a little backwards. His legs on the opposite side of my head over here, unlike the traditional X that we're used to. But this is still going to give a lot of control for some sweeping options and even back takes and stuff like that, which we can start to go over. So I just have the hooks connected like so. My head's tight. I control the knee line as if it was like the regular X, even though the leg's on the other side. And we're going to operate from here. So let's look again. So we can just start from the reverse De La Riva. So I have the grip. I have the frames more or less set up. I'm going to bring the hand in between. I start to rotate under. I like to grab the ribs and then change to the leg. And we're going to set the cross-side X. Let's do another angle. Let's do this side, please. So here, start on reverse. And changes. So, yeah. And I have the cross-side X from the reverse De La Riva. Let's give it a try. Okay, next I want to go over how to resit up from those De La Riva and reverse De La Riva position. Sometimes, you know, people are more aware, so it's harder to get those entries from when you're on your back and you don't have a lot of momentum and this and that. So it's often going to be to your advantage to also learn how to sit back up to that initial like leg hug position that we're used to. So I want to go over how to do that from both guards. So imagine we had the De La Riva here. Okay, so we were like this. I had myself engaged here with some sort of framework or fighting this hand. And this guy's not letting me get this inside position. I even don't feel comfortable to put his weight like out of balance with the underhook side. So what I'm going to look to do instead is sit back up. Okay, so I'm going to sit back up again using this free hand. Okay, the last thing I want to do is sit up and then he gets a upper body control on me. So I want to sit up in a manner that's not going to expose myself. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this leg to push and make him step back. What's important? When you push and make the guy step back, don't do two motions. So what I mean is, like, I see a lot of people, they push and then they have to use their whole abs to like sit up. That's not what we want. I want to use the momentum of my push to sit up. So when I push, this like rock on the leg is almost like cheating on a sit up. And that's what we want in jiu-jitsu. We want to use all the leverage we can. So I'm going to push and sit up at the same time. Once I sit up on the same time, this hand's looking to engage. Why? I don't want him to get an underhook on me, right? I don't want him to try to snap my head for a guillotine, right? So I'm always looking to engage with this hand. And during that timing, I'm keeping the weight in that leg. Notice this leg didn't drop out. If this leg drops out, he's going to step it over and then start to, get ahead of me in the position. So when we're here, okay, this foot's staying there as a post. And keep that discipline. It's fine for my De La Riva hook to drop out at this point because what's going to control this knee now is going back to the leg hook position. And once I'm back in the leg hook position, now we're back in that series, right? If I feel the space to start to scoop myself back to shin on shin and then start to go underneath, that's the option, right? If when we're here in this position, he starts to put me flat and I have to go back to that leg hug entry, lifting his knee, that's a good option too, right? So from that De La Riva position, we can still sit up as long as we have like the proper fundamentals on how to do the sit up from the De La Riva to enter into the one leg X guard. Likewise, can we do this leg in the front, please? Yeah, this leg, yeah. If I'm in the reverse De La Riva position over here, we can always start to do the same thing. So what I mean is, if he starts to put some weight in the position over here, and I don't feel like I can get a good spin underneath or anything like that, what I can do is I can put this foot on the ground for a second and then start to kick him up. Kick him up and then rock my leg for momentum, and we go right back to that head sit-up position, to that leg hug and sit-up position. I can escape my hip out and reinsert the hook and start to go underneath with the shin on shin, or if you start to drive me back down, now I have the leg hug, so I can enter back in on the one leg X guard from there, right? So I'll just do each one more time. So I'll do the De La Riva on this side because you didn't see this angle last time. So I have the De La Riva here. Remember, I'm still monitoring my frames, making sure he doesn't get too far ahead of me. I'm gonna step and sit up at the same time and push him back. Okay, once I do that, I void him, right? I change to the hug and I'm in the position, right? So one more time. So here, comes and faces. Yeah, there you go. And we arrive in the one leg X guard. Do the reverse De La Riva the other side. So here, this side, please. So here, I'm like this in this position. I'm avoiding him here. I'm gonna just put my foot on the ground just so I get some more momentum out of my bridge. And I rock my leg and come up. This time, let's imagine that he drives me flat, okay? And that's gonna give me the opportunity to lift and go to the position. One thing that's important that I forgot to mention, when you guys get up from this De La Riva position, okay, you're gonna have to get up on the elbow. So as I kick him forward over here and I rock to get up, I get up on my elbow, but I don't stay on my elbow. I have to get all the way up to my hand, okay? And the reason why is because the more height I get, the more momentum I'm gonna have to lift. If I just stay like this, it's gonna be too hard to not enough space to pummel anything or not enough momentum. So I sit all the way up and that's gonna give me the better chance to pummel the position or go to the leg hug entry. So guys, up until now, we've been working a lot of unique entries straight to the one leg X guard and straight to the X guard position and dealing with a standing opponent. And if you guys saw my last DVD on butterfly, when we dealt with a standing opponent from the butterfly position, we looked at a lot of takedowns from that scenario. The good thing is we can start to combine the takedowns with these entries if you feel some resistance going back into you, or if you don't feel like you're going to complete the takedown, or if you feel like the position's starting to slip out. So I want to take a look at those now. So my partner is going to be in a stance. He can have the one leg in the front over here. And a lot of times when we get in this situation over here, sometimes it's hard to start to engage my shins, or maybe I just see the opportunity to go for one of the takedowns that we, like I said, maybe you guys saw the DVD or just in general that you guys know. So one good option that we have to start to look for in this situation is to go to a good ankle pick. So what I'm going to look to do is, again, I need to make sure I have the inside space. If his hands are in the way, if his hands are not in the way, I can just go straight to it. But I'm going to look to go to his ankle. When I go to his ankle over here, I'm going to work to heist up onto my leg. So as I go to his ankle, my foot tucks underneath. And now this base is going to allow me to start to drive forward. I need to drive forward in a way that always isn't going to expose myself. So when I drive forward, I like to either push the guy's shoulder or push the guy's hip over here. And what that's going to do is allow the leg to come up. If I didn't get a good option to go straight to the takedown from this position, what I like to do is go to the back of his knee over here and almost like pull him back into that one leg X guard position. Okay? So we'll do it again. So when I'm here, I see the opportunity. Maybe this time I'm going to look to change and go more to his knee, almost like a low single. But the idea is the foot comes out of the mat. That's the concept that's like consistent throughout all these entries. This leg gets light, this leg gets heavier. Okay, let's try to go underneath. So I get the foot out of the mat, I heist up, driving into him, and now I can pull myself back underneath. I always like to control the back of the leg or the knee too. This way the guy can't like turn and run as easy. If when I'm here and I go to the back of his his ankle over here and he starts to turn and run to free. Can you show them? Yes, exactly. Try to go through the open side of the grip. One thing that I can always do is this hand's waiting to catch. So as he goes, I'm looking to catch. I can catch his knee line. That would be the prefer because the joint above is going to be hard for him to free the ankle. Or I can even catch more like, can you turn again? His toes. This is a good grip for no-gi. So it's very hard to kick and limp his leg out for when I control either the joint underneath the ankle or the joint above the ankle. Okay, that's going to stop his momentum. If I go somewhere in the shin, a lot of times it's going to slip. Sometimes hard to choose in the moment, but try to be precise. And then from here, one more time, I can either pull myself up, get his knee line, and then pull him back down. Or if I felt enough tug, like not a lot of slip, I can pull him down from the toes and arrive in the position. Okay. One last thing that I want to hit rather than make it a separate move is also from the single leg. So a lot of times when we're doing the butterfly guard, you know, maybe my partner's standing a little bit more upright. He's not as low in his stance. I'm going to see the opportunity to tuck my leg underneath. So I'm going to tuck my leg underneath and heist up for the single leg just like we worked in the butterfly guard. And whenever this happens over here and we come up in the position, especially if this leg's ever outside, this is another time where if I feel like I'm losing the momentum, I don't feel comfortable finishing on the single leg, or this guy has like a very good defense over here, I can just reach his other leg and pull myself underneath, making sure that I get right back to that position. So takedowns are a great way that you guys can threaten to get to the one leg X guard, or if you feel like for some reason something's going wrong, you can always, in the takedown finish, you can always go to the one leg X guard, right? So I'll do this angle real quick. So I'll do the ankle pick one first. So I'm here, I see the leg exposed. I can go to the ankle and pull him back down, arriving in the position. Or I can start to go over there. He goes to run away. I go to his knee, scoop myself in, almost like the sliding entry. And we go to the position. And another option, right, is I'm here in this situation. I see the opportunity, stance a little bit too far upright to come up on the single. I tuck my leg. I have that good drive forward. And his leg ends up on the outside. I reach the other leg. Instead of finishing for the double, I'm just going to scoop myself back underneath and arrive back in the one leg X guard. Let's give it a shot. Okay, and guys, I don't always have to go to the one leg X guard off of these takedown entries. I can go, you know, straight to that cross-side X if I like. Like, for example, same entry over here. I go to the hip, I go to the ankle, and I get that weight out of the leg, and I can just scoop myself back in, and we can go to the cross-side X, and I can keep an overhook and still control the knee line on this side and have my hooks control the other side over here. So definitely another option. Let's do that. The angle. So same thing, I'm in this situation. I see the opportunity to pick the ankle and heist up. And this time I'm kind of backside on him. Instead to go to the one leg X guard, I'm gonna look to go to that cross-side X. So I pull myself in. I hug nice and tight, deep grip, fist reaching for my chest, control the knee line over here, and I have that cross-side X.